Before we get into today's video, I want to clear a few things up. First of all, my voice is not AI. This is my actual voice. This is exactly how I sound. I have a members area where I'm on voice calls and video calls every single day. I do live streams every Sunday. If my voice is AI, I wouldn't be able to do any of that. Just come join a live stream Sundays at 8 p.m. Say hello. Secondly, the editing. I edit every single one of these videos myself. No one helps me. I do it all alone. If I could use AI to edit my videos, I would do it without hesitation because it would save me dozens and dozens of hours on every single video. Every cut, every transition, every piece of video is put together by me alone. Third, the footage. It's called B-roll. It's real footage, real places, real people. It's a filmmaking technique that has existed for decades. It's not AI. It's how professional video production works. Now let's get into it. Every person who has ever lost money in the Pokémon TCG space made the same mistake. They bought what they loved. And I understand it. I've been in this hobby for 30 years. I know what it feels like to look at a card and feel something. The artwork, the character, the memories that can get attached to the specific card or pull. That feeling is real, and it's one of the things that has made this hobby genuinely special. But that feeling will empty your bank account every single time you let it make your investing decisions. Today we're going back to basics. If you're new to this channel or new to the idea of treating Pokemon as a legitimate investment vehicle, this is where you start. And if you have been here for a while, this is the foundation that everything else is built on. You can watch every video on this channel, but if you don't have this framework locked in, none of it's going to matter. The first thing you need to understand is that the Pokemon investing space is not complicated at all. The community, however, has done an incredible job of trying to make it feel complicated. Endless jargon, debates all over, endless content about endless sets. But at its core, this market operates on the same principles as every other investment market that has ever existed: supply, demand, scarcity, and timing. That's it. Everything else is noise. First up, we have demand. It's incredibly easy. How many people want the card? In the Pokemon space, demand is driven by character popularity, artwork quality, competitive play, and nostalgia. But not all demand is equal. The demand that moves the prices in this hobby is cross-demographic demand. A card that is wanted by collectors, investors, players, and casual fans simultaneously is a card with real demand. A card that is only wanted by one segment of this community is a card with limited upside. Next up, we have scarcity. It's what happens when supply cannot meet demand. Scarcity is the engine of value in this market. The Pokemon Company has become extraordinarily good at engineering scarcity. Sometimes, more often than not, it's deliberate. Sometimes it's accidental. But the investors who can understand how to identify real scarcity versus manufactured scarcity are the ones who consistently are going to come out ahead. Next up is timing. That's simply when you buy and when you sell. This is where most new investors in this market get destroyed. They buy into hype at the peak and sell into fear at the bottom. Every single time, without fail, because they are making decisions based on emotions instead of data. Now let's talk about what actually makes a card worth investing in. There are two things that drive the value of an individual card in this market above all else: the character and the artwork. In that order. Always in that order. The character comes first. Always. A stunning piece of artwork featuring a character nobody cares about will never become a grail. It will never drive the kind of sustained demand that turns a $30 card into a $300 card over 12 months. The character is the engine. The artwork is the multiplier of that engine. And not all characters are created equal. There is a very, very short list of Pokemon that have the cross-demographic appeal to become true Grail characters. Charizard, Pikachu, Mewtwo, Gengar, and a handful of others. These are characters that transcend the hobby. They are recognized by people who have never played the game. These characters also carry emotional weight across multiple generations of fans simultaneously. When a card features one of these characters and it pairs it with exceptional artwork, it has the ingredients to become a grail. Everything else is just a card. But here's where most of the investors are going wrong. They look at a card with stunning artwork featuring a character they personally love and they buy it as an investment. and then they watch it go nowhere for 2 years, while a card featuring Charizard and a set they barely paid attention to triples in value. This is the collector mindset operating inside of an investment decision, and it's going to cost you every single time. Your personal feelings about a character are completely irrelevant to whether that character will drive market value. The market does not care what you think is beautiful. The market does not care what Pokemon you grew up loving. The market cares only about cross-demographic demand, and it expresses that care in sales data. Go look at the data, not the opinions, not the YouTube videos, the actual sales data on eBay sold listings or other listings that have sold. That is where the market will tell you the truth. The second fundamental of Pokemon investing is understanding the difference between a set and a grail. A set is a collection of cards released at a specific time with a specific print run. Some sets are good investments, some are not. The difference between a set worth investing in and a set worth ignoring comes down to one thing: chase card density. Chase card density is the number of genuinely high-value chase cards in a set. Not cards that are worth $10, not cards with pretty artwork that nobody's looking for. Cards that the broader market is actively always chasing. Cards that create the kind of demand that sustains sealed product value long after the initial release hype dies down. A set with one chase card is a very fragile investment. The moment that one card loses momentum, for any reason, the sealed product will then lose its foundation. A set with 5, 6, or a dozen chase cards is a completely different animal. The value is diversified across multiple demand drivers, and the sealed product has a floor that holds even when individual cards correct. This is why you can look at Ascended Heroes and see it is the GOAT of all time. This is also why sets like Journey Together and Chaos Rising are not investment-grade product at current prices. The data's out there. It's super easy to find, and it's not subtle. You just have to be able to look at it without collector eyes clouding your view. Sealed product generally is a longer game. You buy it, you store it correctly, and you wait. The value can compound over time as the print run ages, as the product goes out of print, and as the chase cards inside appreciate over time. It makes the sealed product more attractive to buyers who want a chance at what might be inside of the sealed product. The risk on sealed is low, especially if you buy the right sets at the right prices. The return timeline can be a bit longer, sometimes years, not months. Singles are a shorter game with a higher variance. You identify a card before the market catches up. You buy that card raw. You grade it if the economics support grading, and you sell it into strength. The upside can be higher, the risk is absolutely higher, and the knowledge requirement is significantly higher. You need to understand population reports, grading economics, character demand curves, and market timing at a level that does take time to develop. Neither one of these is better than the other. They both serve different purposes inside of a portfolio, and smart investors will often use both. And the fourth fundamental is budget discipline. I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's the single most violated rule in the hobby. You must have a defined budget before you spend a single dollar. Not a rough idea, a number, a hard line. Your budget is going to determine your strategy. A $500 budget per month is amazing, but it does not support the same moves as a $5,000 budget. And a $5,000 budget doesn't support the same moves as a $50,000 budget. Know your number, build your strategy around that number, and never, ever let the hype push you past it. The people who blow their budget chasing a hot set are the same people who have nothing left when the real opportunity shows up 3 months later and they miss a huge move. Opportunities in this market always show up. Always. And the fifth fundamental, which is the hardest for everyone I've ever encountered: separating your collecting from your investing completely. If you want to collect, then go collect. It's a beautiful hobby and there's nothing wrong with enjoying it. But you have to keep your collection budget and your investment budget in completely separate mental and physical accounts. The moment you start making investment decisions based on what you want to own personally, you have crossed a line that's going to cost you money every single time. The investor in you does not care about the card. The investor in you cares about where the price is going and whether the data supports the move. The collector in you will always find a reason to hold a card too long, or pay too much, or pass on selling at the right moment because the card means something to you. They cannot operate in the same portfolio. They have got to be separate. This is not optional. After you've got your collector and investor separated, truly separated, then you have to watch out for the traps in this market. The market is full of them, and the people who fall into them, they're not stupid, they're not careless, they're just people who get excited. They move too fast and they trust the wrong sources. It happens every single minute of every single day in this hobby, and it is 100% preventable if you know what you're looking for. One of the biggest traps is the hype set. Every single release in this hobby comes with a hype cycle. YouTube videos, social media posts, comment sections full of people telling each other, this is the one. This is the set that's going to change everything. This is the product you can't afford to miss. This just happened with Chaos Rising. I put out a video long before Chaos Rising ever dropped, said it was a garbage set, not worth investing, and a bunch of people ran to my comments talking about Greninja. That's very, very easy to figure out. Greninja's not a grail, never going to be a grail. Doesn't matter who says what. The data supports it not being a grail. And now today, it's a $350 card. It's the top chase of the set. It's $350. That is nothing compared to several sets we've already seen this year for chase cards. As usual, it is completely disconnected from reality. The hype, again, is manufactured usually by people who are either selling the product they're hyping or they're chasing views from an audience that rewards excitement over accuracy. The set drops, the hype peaks, the price spikes for 72 hours, and then the slow, painful decline begins that will not stop for months. The new investor who bought into the hype at peak is now holding product at a loss, wondering what in the world went wrong. What happened is they confused noise for signal. And they confused excitement for data, and they paid for it with their wallet like every single time. The rule is very simple. By the time you see a product or anything being hyped by every channel simultaneously, that move already happened. People that were already paying attention already loaded up on that product. You're not getting in early. You're just providing the exit liquidity for people who got in before the hype started. Another huge trap is the buyout wall. I've covered this before on the channel, but it bears repeating once again in the context of new investors. A buyout wall is when market manipulation artificially inflates the price of a card on TCG Player by sweeping low-priced copies and relisting them at a massive markup. The algorithm on TCG Player adjusts, new investors see the price spike and assume the card is moving. They run out to buy it, again with a hype. The manipulators sell into that buying pressure and they exit. The price collapses back to where it started, and the new investor is left holding a card at 2 times what it's actually worth. And the only way to avoid this one, you have to verify sold prices. A great place to do that is on eBay. Pretty simple. If the card's not actively selling at the new price on eBay, the move's not real. Full stop. End of discussion. Trap number 3, the emotional buy. You see a card you love, the price looks reasonable. You tell yourself it's an investment and you buy it. It's not an investment. It's a collection purchase being dressed up as an investment. That's it. You're just justifying spending the money on a card that the investor side of you knows is not an investment. And there's nothing wrong with buying that card for your collection as long as you're honest about why you're buying it. The problem is when you take that card and you put it in your investment portfolio. Track it against your returns and convince yourself you made a smart financial decision when what you actually did was just buy something you wanted. Be honest about what you're doing with every single dollar you spend in this market. Collection purchase or investment. Never ever blur the lines between the two. These simple traps destroy more new investors in this hobby than any market correction ever has. The hype set, the buyout wall, the emotional buy. Learn to recognize them all. Learn to pause when you feel one of them pulling at you and make the data drive decisions instead of emotions. That's how you can attempt to begin winning in this hobby. This is a simple foundation: supply, demand, scarcity, timing, character over artwork, chase card density, sealed card versus singles, budget discipline. the complete separation of collecting from investing, and the traps that destroy new investors before they ever get started. Everything else on this channel is built on these fundamentals. If you don't have them locked in, go back and watch this video as many times as you need to before you get them locked in, and especially before you spend another dollar in this hobby. The members area is where I go deeper. Real-time conversations, real-time market analysis, real answers to real questions about your specific portfolio and your specific situation. Starts at $5 a month. Right now, when you purchase my ebook directly on my website, you get a month free. Do yourself a favor. Grab the ebook, get in the members area, let's chit-chat.